Hi, it's Dawn from Dawn's Dirt. Dirt can mean gardening. Dirt can mean chickens. Dirt can mean cows. Dirt can mean anything homesteading. Dirt can mean politics. Dirt can mean religion. Dirt can mean anything we want it to mean. And I'm super excited about today's guest. We've got Jamie Stewart, and she is the constipation fix queen. So she's everything poop. And, you know, a little crazy, but I think that's great, you know, talking about poop. Because on a homestead, you have a lot of poop and you deal with a lot of poop and you have poop on you all the time. So, you know, this is a bit of a fit. And so Jamie's here to put me in the hot seat actually and talk about agriculture, food and farming and, you know, the myths and the questions and the, you know, this and that on food. So welcome to the show, Jamie.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, thanks for being here. This is really exciting. So I met you through Kaylor Bett's program. You're in the same business academy as I am, and you're doing poop. And when I said, does anyone want to come on my podcast and put me in the hot seat, you volunteered, and I'm feeling pretty good about this. So
awesome.
Yeah. So I guess you're kind of the host. Where are we at? What are we going to do to start here, Jamie?
Well, I'm ready to grill you. Are you ready? Should we just jump right in?
I love it. Let's just jump right in.
So just a little bit of background about me. I overcame a lot of health struggles, and I ended up healing myself by educating myself about where my food comes from. So I love going to farms. I love talking to farmers. My big goal is to have a farm someday, so I'm super psyched to learn from you. But I want to start out hot. Tell me what you think about pesticides. Let's go. Do you use them? Do you find them necessary? Do you think, you know, they're safe? Like, what are your thoughts? Tell me.
Okay, what a great question. I mean, let's go in hot right off the bat. And so I have lots of opinions on it, and I'm actually not just a black and white organic woman. It depends on the farm, it depends on the goals, it depends on what the farmer needs, it depends on the size, it depends on the customer, it depends on where the food is going to. And so I don't have a black and white answer for you. I'm sorry. So when I had my farm, as you know, I'm not sure if you knew, but I had a 36,000 square foot greenhouse, vegetable production. So cucumbers, tomatoes, and peppers, and lettuce and greens in the greenhouse. And then I did 20 acres of field vegetables as well. So I grew thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of vegetables for consumers, for my customers, and I sold them at farmers markets. And people would always come up to my booth and they would say, "Are you organic?" And I would say, "No, but I grow without pesticide unless certified organic product is used." And so herbicide kills vegetables anyway, so that's just not an option in vegetable farming, unless some vegetable farmers will use a pre-emergent herbicide. So what will happen is on a carrot crop, let's say, you have your carrots, you plant them, and carrots germinate in about 14 days. Carrots germinate in 14 days. Now, on about day 10, they might take herbicide and they might hit that field with herbicide before those carrots are up out of the soil. So, because if those carrots were up out of the soil, it will kill the carrots. But if the carrots are under the soil, it won't kill the carrots because it's a contact herbicide. So that would be the only time you would ever use a herbicide in a vegetable crop. Because if not, like I had a whole crop of tomatoes in my almost 1 acre greenhouse die one year because some herbicide went through the ditches, into my dugout, into my water system, into my tomatoes, and boom, I lost my crop. So herbicide is not an option in vegetable production. Herbicide is an option in more of your cereal and grain crops. So your canola, wheat, barley, it depends on where the stages that they're at and what the farmer's using it for. Corn, there's herbicide like Roundup Ready corn, but that corn is not table corn that you and I would eat. That corn is cattle corn, or like corn
Feed.
for the feed. Yes. So that's herbicide. Now, fungicide and insecticide. So fungicide takes care of your diseases. So again, on my farm, when I had my farm, I only used organic fungicides. So if I ever sprayed, it was an organic fungicide, or an organic pesticide. Because just because someone's organic doesn't mean that they don't spray. It just means that they're using something on the certified organic list. So I had cabbages, and I, instead of netting them, because for the white cabbage butterfly.
No, I'm not a
Okay,
farmer, but please tell me.
that's okay.
Not a farmer
So
yet.
no, you're not a farmer yet, but yeah, I'm sure you will be one day. I'm looking forward to that. So if you have a crop of cabbages or brassicas, so that's your broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. Those are called the brassicas, in the brassica family. And if you're growing those brassica crops, you're going to get those. I mean, they're cute to look at if you don't know what you're looking at, but I hate them. Those cute little white butterflies. Have you ever seen one of those cute little white butterflies?
I think so. Yes.
Yes. Well, they create these horrific little creatures. They start off as horrific little worms. And so if you don't take preventative measures of some type in a brassica crop, you're going to have those worms in your food. And so I always tell people, my clients, I always say, well, you've got four options. I think it's four options with those brassicas and with those worms. So the first option is, the WEF, they want us to eat bugs. And so you can eat the worms in your cabbages, And so it's kind of a naughty joke, but that's where the world wants us to go. And I'm not interested in eating bugs. So no, thank you. The second option is you can take a net and you can fully net them in so that you get no butterflies in there. The third option is to spray with a biological spray, which was what I chose when I had my farm. So it was a bacteria. So the worm would eat the bacteria and the worm would die. And then I had to spray every time it rained. And so, because it would wash off, because it's natural, right? It's a bacteria. It's natural. It would wash off. Or your other option is a full pesticide. And so it depends on the farmer and their needs as to what they'll use, and what they need. I think when it comes to herbicide, fungicide, and insecticide, I think instead of doing a one size fits all approach, we need to kind of look at it. Like, farmers don't want to spray their crop. I haven't met a farmer yet that wants to spend the money out of their pocket to pay a crop. But sometimes they have to, because if they didn't, their crops wouldn't pencil out. Like the tactician business side of their farm wouldn't pencil out, and they wouldn't even have a farm. And so in an ideal world, would we have organic methods? Absolutely. Should we lean towards that and try and ease into that? Absolutely. Does the local food system lend a way where we can do more organics or more without pesticide and less certified organic product is used? Yes. But on those big farms and those big fields, it's sometimes not always doable. And I don't blame the farmer for that. I blame the system for that. Sorry, that was a very long-winded answer to a simple question.
No, I love it. I've learned so much from you already. And I'm wondering, so if you are spraying occasionally, how does that affect the soil? Does it wash off? Does it have I've heard there's like a half-life of 197 days for glyphosate. I don't know. I'm not the expert. You are, but I'm wondering, how do you keep your soil quality at the top of its game, if you will?
Do you remember the toilet paper wars of 2020? Are you worried about being prepared in an emergency? Are you tired of being a slave to the corporations we purchase from? It's time to take control. Become ungovernable. Take your food system into your own hands. Hi, I'm Dawn, a coach dedicated to helping you live like grandma used to. Self-reliant, resourceful, and prepared. Whether it's raising chickens, growing a garden, canning your own food, or even milking a cow, I'll teach you how to thrive and survive in the space you have, big or small. We can even potentially make some money off your homestead. Visit Dawn's Dirt today to book your free jumpstart call. Together, as a team, we can get you self-reliant and ungovernable. We, the people, have the power to take back control. Remember, if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. But if you teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. Let's build a better future and a community, one skill set at a time. Great question. A perfect question. And actually, I'm not a what's the word? I'm not a I can't remember what they're called. There are people that work for these big companies that are crop. Oh, they're agrologists. I'm not an agrologist. I'm a vegetable farmer. And what you do in vegetable farming is also different than what you would do in grain farming, let's say, like where you've got your wheat and your barley and your oats and your, canola and things like that. So I'm not an expert in all of this, but Roundup, this is my understanding of it. And again, my understanding and what the company tells you, like the chemical companies tell you, my understanding, and then also what like organics tell you, like the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. And so my understanding is when a herbicide is sprayed, it's a contact spray. So glyphosate. So if it hits the plant, it kills the plant. If it hits the dirt, it's out of the, like it's dead. It's done. That's my understanding of it. So like I said with the carrots, if you've sprayed your soil and then the carrots grow through that soil, the carrots aren't dying. So to me, honestly, it does seem like there's no glyphosate left in it. But what the reality is, I don't actually know. I'm not a chemist. I'm not a biologist. I know that that's how that chemical works. I just don't know what's best for your soil. But soil health in farming and agriculture is extremely important. If you don't have good soil, you don't have crops. And so I hear a lot of times that there is a huge organic and regenerative, and that's the way to go. And then you hear the big, like I rub shoulders on a daily basis with big farmers, big grain farmers, and they're like, oh, that organics, that's just a myth, and that's la la la. And I don't know. I just feel like sometimes the truth is probably somewhere in between, just like with many things in the world. And it probably depends based on needs,
Yeah. Yeah, interesting perspective. So, are there things you do for your soil to make sure that it stays healthy that you do know of that you use, or do you just kind of let nature do nature and let it take care
Okay,
of itself?
for sure. So are we referring to my own backyard garden right now?
Yes, I mean,
Okay.
I'm just curious. Yeah, how do you protect your soil?
For sure. So when I had my farm, I put my weeds back into my soil. I composted them back in. That's called green manure. That builds into your soil. I crop rotated. So I didn't put my corn in the same place that I put I moved it all around all the time. My potatoes, I tried to move even every 7 years. They didn't go back in the same spot. And so crop rotation really helps. Putting your green manure, your weeds and, your compost back into your soil really helps. Planting cover crops in between your beds of vegetables or your rows of vegetables, like a ryegrass or there's some clovers that will work as well, annual clovers that you can cut and then till back in your soil, and that'll give you more nutrients back in your soil. And then on my farm, I actually used fertilizer. So I had my hydroponic greenhouse, which I fed the plants their fertilizer, their nutrients in the water system. And then that wastewater, so in a hydroponic greenhouse, you've got a lot of wastewater, and that wastewater went into a big pond. And from that big pond, I put it onto my field crops, and they got a little extra nutrients that way. And so, yeah, what the fertilizer does to the soil, I think if all you're doing is fertilizing, and you're not putting any nutrients in like the cover crops and the green manure back in, I think that that's not great for your soil. But if you're doing all of the above, I think it's okay. It's just my
Yeah.
opinion, but
How long did you have your farm? Was it quite a while, or I
oh
was just
yeah.
curious.
Oh, for sure. No, this is great. So I was a vegetable farmer since I was 5 years old. So my parents had a greenhouse by Airdrie. They did long English cucumbers in a little, I think it was they had 26,000 square foot greenhouse. So that's maybe half an acre, or just over half an acre. And then in 2007, they sold their farm, and then me and my ex-husband built our greenhouse. And so, yeah. And then slowly I took over from my ex-husband, and eventually I bought him out, and then eventually I had to sell the farm, and that's a whole other story. But yeah,
Yeah.
I've farmed since I was 5 years old. Ironically enough, when I was in grade 1, I wrote a story it was called Dawn's Greenhouse. And so I predicted my future in grade 1. I wrote about my career when I was in grade 1.
I love that. I love the passion. I love the enthusiasm. Again, I'm learning so much. I'm curious. I'm dying to know, where do you get your seeds? Do you feel like GMOs are something we should be concerned about? Do you like heirloom seeds? Is there a seed vault that you recommend? Tell me the dirt.
Great. Yeah, great question. I think there's been a lot of fear instilled in people. I think that there is, and to be honest with you, I was thinking about this. I knew some of these questions might come up, which is why I was super excited to have you on the show. Cause like you've always got great questions and always got great ideas and things like this. But I think sometimes in our society right now, I think it's the woke left side that sometimes creeps into our ideologies around farming. And it's around the whole climate change and things like that. And I just, I think that, again, the truth lies somewhere in the middle. So when it comes to seed, genetic engineering, so there's a big difference between genetic engineering and genetic modification. And where I learned about this was from a friend of mine, an old neighbor of mine, Rick, and he's actually an organic farmer, organic grain farmer, and he's a holistic nutritionist. And he was an agrologist, so he knew all about the sprays. Like this man's smarter than I am. And he was telling me one time that there was a difference between genetic engineering and genetic modification. So with genetic modification, everything is genetically modified, but genetically modified is cross-breeding, cross-selection, plant A is planted beside plant B. So take our tomato crop. Okay. So you've got 3 different types of tomatoes in a greenhouse. They are cross-pollinating. And the next year you're going to get a different type of tomato because they've cross-pollinated and it's going to make a different one. So that is genetic modification. There's nothing unnatural about that at all. It's just in how you breed, in a cattle farm, you breed, you select cow A to breed with bull B. And, you've got a white cow and a black bull and you're going to end up with, a spotted cow. I don't know. It's all in the breeding. Whereas genetic engineering, when we talk about GMOs, genetic engineering is something different. And genetic engineering is where they've gone in and they've taken the DNA in a petri dish or whatever in a lab, they've mucked with it, and then they've, made a seed or made a Roundup ready canola, and so it's the genetic engineering that I think is more questionable than the genetic modification. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So another little tidbit of information is genetically engineered crops. There's only a handful of them. So they are soy, canola, alfalfa is genetically engineered, corn, but not our table corn. So if you're eating table corn, it's not that table corn. The corn that's been genetically engineered is your field corn, meant for silage, like to feed animals. I think there might be one kind of apple. There might be one kind of potato, but I'm not 100% sure on that. They did a tomato and then nobody liked it, so they quit doing it. And I think that might be it. The rest of it is through breeding. So even our wheat, right? The wheat that we grow, it's not the old wheat from back in the 50s and 40s and 30s and 20s. It's been bred to have different properties. So it's not engineered, it's been bred. If that makes sense?
Mm-hmm. So do you have a favorite seed vault that you use or a company that you buy from? Do you think, like personally for you, do you tend to sway away from those engineered seeds, or you're not growing those crops, so it's not necessarily a part of your world?
No, that was never part of my world. And so, no, I didn't grow those crops, but I do like certain seed companies better than others. When I had my greenhouse, all of my seed came from the Netherlands, actually. And so from the big greenhouses in the Netherlands. And so with my cucumber seed, it was 77 cents per cucumber seed. So almost a buck a seed. Yeah. But when I planted 100 seeds, 99 to 100 came up. Like the breeding on that was they were so good. And then for my field crops, yeah, I just use like Vessies or William Dam or West Coast Seeds or some of those seed companies. Yeah, just local seeds. I didn't always necessarily choose the organic seed either. I just choose whatever seed I wanted. You can get treated seed. That's a little bit of a different thing. So what a treated seed is it's got a coating on it, and it's a little bit of a fungicide coating, and so it's usually a different color, and that's to keep your seed from rotting. So it's not an engineered seed. It's just got some fungicide to keep your seed from rotting. I didn't very, very often use those seeds.
Okay. So, thank you for answering that. My next question is, I had heard a few months ago, I think it was about maybe 4 months ago now, that all of the farmers in Europe were protesting and they were driving their tractors out and they were like lined up. And I just want to know like your take on that. What do you know about that issue, and do you support their cause?
By far, I fully support them. And the thing is it's happening in Canada and in the States as well. Like bureaucracy is killing our farmers. And I've been calling the bureaucracy out for 10 years now, even long before COVID, even long before people's eyes were open. I've said in the name of health and safety, rules and regulations, climate change. I never said climate change back 10 years ago, but I would say it now. In the name of whatever, our food system is going to be controlled. And I don't fault any farmer. Farmers are getting bigger. They're using the genetically engineered seed. They're using the glyphosate. They're using all these things because they have to get bigger, because it's harder and harder and harder to make a farm go. Your margins are paper razor slim. And so you have to get bigger in order to make it pencil out. And so same thing in Europe, same thing in the States, same thing everywhere. You've got small margins. Because farming, this is interesting. Farming as a career, or farming as an industry, is the only industry where you are dictated your input costs. So you are told your seeds are going to cost this, your crop insurance is going to cost this, your fertilizer is going to cost this, your sprays are going to cost this, your diesel is going to cost this. So you take full price on your input costs, and then you get fed whatever price they give you. And so you get dictated what you sell it for as well, with the exception if you go to farmers markets and things like this. So this is why our bigger farms are getting bigger. It's not even their fault. It's not our farmers' faults. And so when it comes to the farming in especially in Europe right now, the governments, in the name of climate change, are putting in this rule and this rule and this rule and this rule down to the farmers. And the big farmers, the big farmers, they can handle a little more pressure because they've got more size, which means more profit, slightly more profit to work with, to be able to offset paying for the bureaucracy and the rules. Whereas a small farmer can't afford it. They can't afford the bullshit. And so that's how they're pushing out the small farmers. And so again, I've been saying it for 10 years. If we don't start protecting our small farmers and getting more small farmers and putting aside this bullshit bureaucracy, we're going to get a dictatorship in our food system. And that's scary. He who controls the food controls the people.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. It's super scary. Is there anything we can do as like the layperson to help out with our farmers? I mean, I always try to meet you guys, talk to you, support you, go to the farms. I have a CSA. I mean, I just want to know, is there something I could even be doing bigger? Because it really, truly scares me.
So don't be afraid, because you are doing all the right things. You have a relationship with your farmer. You have a CSA, community supported agriculture. You know and have a relationship with your farmer. You are voting with your dollars. You are paying dollars out of your pocket and giving it directly to the farmer. So you're skipping out all of the middle guys and you're doing your part. What we, the people, we as society need to do is we need more people like you. So thank you. On behalf of all farmers everywhere, thank you. We need more people like you. I just saw a post of a farmer this morning and he was saying, like, now's the time, people. I've put all my money into my seed. I've weeded, I've watered, I've done all these things, and the crop is ready, and please come out and support me. And he said $100 being spent at a grocery store is a fart in a windstorm storm, but $100 spent directly with a farmer, oof, that will pay for that farmer to eat next winter. Like, it is so important. And I also truly believe that we need more and more and more small farmers to start popping up. And you can kind of make it. If you start off small and you have a small farm and you don't have a lot of debt, you can make it. You can farm. You can do farm direct to customers at a farmer's market, and you can make a business out of it. I'm doing $30,000 in this year in chicken eggs and chicken off my place, and thankfully I don't have the $1 million of debt that I used to. But, the more small farm to table that we do, and the more we start cutting out our grocery stores and cutting out the big chains and cutting out the middle guys. And what that will do to our farmers as well is those big farmers, those big crop farmers, they're growing for the middle aisles of our grocery store, because that's the food that society has been demanding of them. But if the demand is not there anymore and more people want from farmers can shift and pivot, and they can start growing things that people actually want and need, A farmer that has a field of canola could put in a field of carrots if he wanted to, if there's demand and if the customers are purchasing.
Yeah. Well, good. Then I'm going to keep shouting it from the rooftops and educating my friends and family that it's so important to have crop supported agriculture and really to get to know and love up our farmers. Because I just feel like you guys have so many things stacked against you. I mean, nature is hard enough alone, and then you've got bureaucracy and all these, constraints you're up against. So just thank you so much for being one of the good guys. And I cannot leave the podcast without bringing this up. This is my favorite subject. You said you have chickens, and I want to know what your thoughts on bird flu are.
Okay. Oof. That's a great question. I don't know actually where I fall. So I don't know if you can tell or not, I don't actually fall super one way or the other because I rub shoulders with farmers. Like, I get where they're at. I can tell you this. Well, maybe I don't know if I should say this too loudly on a podcast, but I when I had my farm, I had chickens, and I'll be honest with you, the first phone call that I would have made if I would have had a bunch of dead chickens, because bird flu is a thing. Like, there are chickens that do die of something. It's probably bird flu. And I can tell you this much. Maybe I'm a bad person. Well, I'm a bad government person. I don't follow the bureaucracy very well, but I can tell you this. The first phone call that I would have made if I would have had bird flu on my farm is not to the CFIA, Canadian Food Inspection Agency. I would have actually phoned my neighbor farmer who was my former neighbor, because I moved, right? He's a big chicken farmer. He would have been my first phone call. Hi, what do you want me to do? How do we navigate this? Because I've got it. And the first thing he would have done is not come anywhere near me. But yeah, I do think that there is something called the bird flu. Now, I listened to a podcast with Joel Salatin. He's called the Lunatic Farmer. Have you heard of him?
Yes. Yeah. I'm very excited to get to know his work even more.
Yeah, I've met the man, Joel Salatin. He's a really cool farmer. Yeah, I shook his hand and chatted with him several years ago. He was the main speaker at a conference, and I was like a little side speaker. And I chatted with him about my farm. It was really cool. And now he's like so famous. But anyways, I listened to a podcast with him about the bird flu, and he said we're approaching it wrong. And I agree with him. I think what they're doing is they're taking a barn that's been infected, with 1 or 2 birds, or 5 or 6 or 10 birds, and these birds are dying. Sorry. I do have a bit of a stomach ache, actually. I ate some chili, and maybe, I don't know. Stirring up.
I'm so
anyways,
sorry.
you're the constipation girl. But anyways, so if you have a few birds that are infected, what they're doing, what CFIA or what how they're dealing with the bird flu is they're coming in and they are killing the entire flock. And what Joel says is that's incorrect. That's bad. That's not good. That's not going to help the situation. What he says is feed them really well, get them outside, move them around on pasture, and let nature kind of take its course. And your sick birds are going to die off. They're the weak, the weak get left behind. But in nature, the resilient ones, the ones that are going to start building up antibodies and, like their immune systems and their natural ways to fight it off, let them breed and then breed them. And then eventually bird flu is not going to be a thing because these birds are going to have immune systems to bird flu. Imagine that, right? And so when you take a whole flock of birds and you put them in a big barn and, of course it's just like a hospital. If you have a few sick people in a hospital and, the germs down the hall and whatever, like it's going to travel fast. Or a cruise ship, right? When someone has a cold on a cruise ship, like next thing you know, everybody has a cold on a cruise ship because it's a big cage. Whereas if you have, and you're out hiking and you've got your animals out to pasture and you've got them, inside and outside and they've got access to nature and the sun and the, grass and the bugs and their immune systems naturally are going to be a little bit higher. So that's just my thoughts on bird flu.
That's my understanding as well. I just wondered, my big thought is like, is the government doing this to inflate the cost of eggs so that they're, getting the financial gain? And I just feel like killing off all the chickens is suspicious, to say the least. And so it's refreshing to hear people talk about that. I think building up natural antibodies is how we thrive, even as humans. So I'm just relieved to hear you say that. And really cool that you met Joel Salatin. I'm actually very jealous, but are there any other farmers that you really like that are interesting to follow or have books or podcasts that people like me who want to learn more could follow?
Well, Don's Dirt.
Yes.
Sorry. Just being a little cocky here. Follow me at Don's Dirt. Yeah, so Joel's really good. There's lots of other ones too. Curtis Stone up here in Canada. There's a new guy. I just had him on the podcast. Chef Mikey. He was really cool. He was on my podcast a couple weeks ago. It's just the more people that can make more changes, like that's where it's at with our food system. And so, as we have more small farmers, as you get to know your small farmers, as you get to, you'll learn more about them and go to a farm, right? Like I'm here up in Canada, Alberta, Canada. And in August, we have a thing called Alberta Open Farm Days. And that's where many, many farmers open up their farms to the public, and the public can come onto the farms and learn about farming. And the more you can talk to your farmer and, talk to whoever, or listen to the podcast or whatever, the more you can learn, you'll understand the reasons why. In the beginning of our show here, none of my answers were just black and white. It's only organic and it's only this way and this is the best way. There's lots of different ways. Dakota Cohen, Cohen Farms up here in Alberta. He's really good as well. I'm hoping to get him on my podcast too.
Awesome.
He's very organic, very, very organic. Yeah.
So
which is good too.
I'm a fan of organic, but I'm just like, I have such a delicate system and I'm so protective of the air, the soil, the water. I just want everyone to be the healthiest they can be, but it's such a good perspective. Are there any farming practices though that you're like, no, this is so bad, like you don't recommend?
Well, I mean, our big system, I don't necessarily recommend our big system. Like for myself, I think that we need to go back down to a smaller system. I do understand why the farmers are getting bigger. I do support them as farmers and as family farms. I get it. I support them. And I would never want to say anything bad by what they're doing because they're doing what they need to do for their families. But is it ideal? No. I don't want to say all conventional big farmers are bad. I can't do that. And I think here's one thing that I had a concern, and it was down in the States, because you're in the States, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So when RFK Jr., right, that's who it was talking to Joel Salatin, and they were talking about regenerative farming, which is great. Those are all great things. I jumped to, if they mandated in the States or in Canada tomorrow, we are no longer allowed to use Roundup. I'll tell you what, a lot of people will starve. That will cause instant starvation. We cannot just switch flip a switch and change the system tomorrow, because the farmers that are actually growing the food, and granted, by the time it gets to the grocery store shelf, it's not food, it's filler. But if we didn't have that, we would have a lot of hungry, starving people instantly. So this is going to be a long process to make the change. We need more and more and more of these farmers growing different crops, selling to the public, more small farmers, coming up, selling to the public. And we have to make the shift gradually and head in that general direction, because if we flip the switch overnight, people will starve.
I see. So in the States right now, the Roundup company is trying to get a liability shield so that they cannot be sued. Would you say then maybe that is a good thing that they do have the liability shield so that we can make these changes more slowly and sustainably? Or do you think that's pretty suspicious that they don't want to be sued? I mean, it's been proven in federal courts and local courts to be a carcinogen. It's also an antibiotic. I'm not sure that people should be ingesting antibiotics daily. I think it's bad for gut health. But, I don't want people to starve. So I want to be realistic. And I'm just kind of wondering your perspective on that.
Yes. So it is chemical. Like if people are getting sick, and I do think that these chemicals are definitely not healthy for us, right? But I also question, so no doubt in my mind, like if you're using Roundup on a crop, if you're desiccating, do you know what desiccating is?
Yeah, like you're killing it all.
Yes.
Am I right?
So if you have a wheat crop, and you're growing that wheat crop, if you spray it when it's young, that it's going to rain, it's going to whatever, that's a little different than if you're desiccating at the point of harvest. So what farmers sometimes will do is they will take their wheat, and then it's a little bit green, so they can't quite straight cut combine it yet. So they'll take Roundup, they'll kill it off with Roundup, and then they'll harvest it. Well, that Roundup's right on the food, right? And so that's not ideal. Like, that's kind of gross, actually. I know farmers that wouldn't even eat that wheat right out of their bins, But then I've also had other farmers, they're like, I would drink the Roundup. And I'm like, ooh, yeah, I wouldn't do that if I were you, but okay. I dated one like that, actually. So
In the past tense.
Squirrel. Yeah, squirrel. Anyways, so I think, and it's going to lead me to one more thing after this. I think that, I don't even actually know where I was going with this, but it's not ideal. No, I don't think these companies, they're not healthy for us. It's not good chemical. We shouldn't be ingesting it. I agree. I do understand why the farmer does it, but I agree that, and if they're having to, have liability waivers to take responsibility for that, like, yikes, what kind of it's just all based on profit. Okay. But I also think that there is the ideology best decisions that you can make. So no sprays, no grass fed, all the good things. That's the ideology. But what I've said to my customers, because I'm feeding just conventional feed to my chickens right now. I could feed organic, but then I actually wouldn't have a business, because when you feed organic to chickens, your egg production drops and your feed costs go up. So I couldn't make it viable feeding organic. So I just feed regular feed. But what I tell to my customers and my clients is there's a big difference between eating eggs and chicken and vegetables and, something, even if it's had a little bit of spray right from the farmer, there's a huge difference between that food, which is still real food, and your craft dinner and your prepackaged and your chemical laden food. I think the issue with our food system is not necessarily the farm to table food. Even if it's had a little bit of sprays and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, that's not the problem. The problem is when it leaves the farm and it gets processed, and the chemicals and the additives and the preservatives and the shit that gets put in that quote unquote food, that's not food. That's shit. It's garbage. It's filler. It's keeping people from dying, but it's not keeping people alive.
Right. Okay, so it's more the way you use pesticides and our ability to phase them out properly and have better solutions in place. So just a practical approach is what I'm getting from you.
Yes. It's
Okay.
the farmer in me and the tic-tactician businesswoman in me. You know, sometimes our ideologies aren't always practical.
And chickens, like people who have home chickens, they just let the chickens forage and they throw their table scraps out to the chickens. Is that healthy enough for chickens? Like if I wanted to have maybe 10, 20 chickens, would that be an okay thing for me? As a just an eater of eggs, not like someone who wants to sell
Yeah.
them. Totally healthy and
Yeah,
fine.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's totally healthy and fine. So your chickens that are in your backyard, they're going to be eating the bugs and the ants and the this and then that. And my chickens do that too. They're out in their big pens eating all that kind of stuff. I give them their scraps and the grass and the clippings and the vegetable scraps and the weeds and whatever. That's what makes their yolks dark orange. Whereas in a grocery store, you know how they're yellow? It's not about the color of the eggshell. It's about what you have fed the animals. So if you have fed an animal a more organic, not like organic in what, organic in how can I explain this? Organic in like food, like if you've given them food scraps and grass and things like that. So if they've had more of that organic material, the yolks are going to be orange. Whereas if they've only had their grains and their feed, then those yolks are going to be pale. And so if you have your backyard chickens, yeah, you wouldn't even have to necessarily buy feed. But if you don't get enough protein, chickens are omnivores, right? So if you don't get enough protein in your feed, your egg production is going to drop. So then it's a balance and a trade-off. If you want to only feed organic, you're welcome to do it. It's all freedom of choice. And that's the point. It's all freedom of choice. Just make your choice, and different choices have different consequences, right? Like it's all good. Like it's whatever choice you want to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So finally, I just want to ask, are there any other big concerning issues that farmers are facing today that average people like me just don't know? I'd love to know more of your world, your struggles, your concerns, and hope for the future.
Yeah, land prices. Right now in Canada and in the United States, we have opened up our food system to allow China to come in and buy up land. Here in Alberta, I know that we've got our unions are buying up farmland, and so they can make money off the farmers. Farming is big business. Like if you're big enough, you do make money at farming. When I had my farm, my cash flow was quite nice, and I was comfortable. But yeah, like we need to stop that. We need to keep our farms in the families. We need to, make it so that farmers can survive and thrive rather than, because what we're seeing is the big farms are getting bigger and the little guys are being squeezed out. And I think that's on purpose. Here's the one thing that I've said for a long time too, is in Canada, and I'm not sure who it is in the States, but in Canada, Farm Credit Canada is the banking or the loans institution, and they hold, I bet, 80% of the mortgages of farmers. Okay. So if you have Farm Credit Canada, who is controlled by the government, and the government is controlled by, the big corporations and the big players and the WEF and the, basically like massive, massive, massive capitalism. If they're controlling the government and the government controls the loans for these farmers, what we're going to see and what the potential is, and I hope I'm wrong, is that they're holding the mortgages. The government can come in and say, and this is kind of what happened in Europe is, okay, farmer, you have to do this and you have to do this and you have to do this and you have to do this all in the name of climate change. And if you don't do this, we're going to call your loan. And once you're at that size, I know a farmer, I can't even guess to the tune of hundreds of millions that farmer's in debt for. And yeah, like he will have to comply. He will have no choice but to comply because someone else told him to. It's either that or he loses his farm. And so I think that's what we're seeing play out, which is why we need more small farmers, why we need more homesteaders. Hey friends, on Dawn's Dirt, we get real about growing food, farming, homesteading, living free, and digging into the stuff that actually matters. If you're loving the dirt we're dishing out, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow on your favorite social media platforms. That's how we keep growing this community of badass soil covered, chicken loving, freedom chasing humans. Like and subscribe to me on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it. Come be part of the movement.
So fascinating, and it just like drives me up even more to like continue to support local, continue to get to know my farmers, and I see you're drinking milk. Actually, one last kind of tiny question: is that raw milk, and is it something that you produce, or do you have someone that you get it from? What do you think about raw milk?
So it is highly illegal in Canada to sell raw milk. If I sold raw milk, I'll go to jail. That's the way it is. Now, I have heard, and this is only for entertainment purposes only, that some people are getting ways around that by private members clubs, which is just like a sex club. It's just what consenting adults do behind closed doors is up to them. And so if, some people are selling raw milk to their friends and neighbors because they are consenting adults, and it's a little loophole to get around it. But this milk, yes, I have goats, and I milk my goats every day, and I'm drinking my raw goat dairy and dairy milk. And so, yeah, I think there is huge benefits to drinking raw milk. I think what they've done, and again, I don't fault the dairy farm. It's not the dairy farm's fault. It's the middle guys. It's once it leaves the farm, that's where the problems come in. So I would go to I personally would go to any dairy farm in any province, state, anywhere. I would drink right out of their bulk tanks if I could, I have no issue with their milk. It's once it leaves the farm, that's when it is processed and pasteurized and, pulled apart and put back together and added to and subtracted from. And it's not even the same product by the time you get there.
I think it is so essential. We get these things from milk, and it's like the conspiracy theorist in me is like, why do they do this to us? You can't say that like alcohol is legal and cigarettes and all this stuff and then take our raw milk from us. It just really frustrates me. And I feel like I'm just so excited that you've taken your health into your own hands and you milk your goats. I think it's just wonderful. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Okay, so now I have a question for you. So this, so you're the gut queen, or the gut health queen, constipation queen. So you, from a gut health perspective, tell me from your perspective, what does raw dairy do for you? Like tell me, what does it do for your guts and your immune system?
So our bodies, we have what's called a microbiome. Soils have it too. It's basically a microbial balance that you have in your body, strains of bacteria, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever. And we need diversity. We need to have these things. And when we get rid of them, we start developing things like food allergies, food sensitivities. All of a sudden, no one can seem to be able to eat wheat and dairy these days. And I'm thinking to myself, what's going on here? Well, pasteurization, it strips a lot of the nutrients, the probiotics, and the healthy things that really truly make us flourish. So I just want to draw attention to that. And I hope that we can work together to fight the system and overhaul this raw milk BS, because I'm not a fan of it. And for me, could I go to the store and eat like a commercial product? I probably can, because I have a very good microbiome and a good diversity. But do I think we would all benefit from having raw milk? Yes, like fully. I think it's just going to make your microbiome more diverse. And so that's just a big hope for me to see that change go forward in the world.
I agree 10,000%. So where are you?
I'm in Hawaii. Yeah. I used to live in, go ahead.
Is raw dairy legal there?
It's illegal. Yeah. So you have to find somebody to get it from. Yeah. Pretty crazy, huh? I was going to say, I used to live in Oregon and I used to live in Maine, and I got to know every single farmer. I literally went to all of them, and I have so many favorites, but in Hawaii, I'm newer here. So I'm making progress. I'm building the relationships, and you can get it. But like you said, you got to, skirt the loopholes. So yeah, I firmly believe it'll help you skyrocket your gut health. So yeah.
So here's my this is my opinion, and it's not based on fact or anything like that, and it's just purely for entertainment purposes. But I actually don't want to see dairy legalized in some places.
Really?
Yes. And
Why? Do
there's,
tell.
yeah, for sure. Because anytime you legalize something, anytime you get government involvement in something, the bureaucracy just gets more and more and more. And so I just feel like if we, the people, just start with our private members, and what consenting adults do behind closed doors is up to us. And so, you know, I think as long as we're not harming, like harming people, you know, like
Yeah.
if we make choices and know the ins and outs of what choice we're making, then we're consenting adults.
I like that. That's a smart way to approach it. Like we're getting it fine. It's just there's so many people who don't know that it's actually healthy for you. So maybe it's less that we want the government to tell us what's safe and more just to continue to educate consumers and spread the word that it is healthy and it is nutritious. And yeah, there's just another way. So that's a good perspective. I like that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, that's where I'm at with everything. And we'll maybe close it off with this, or pretty close to close it off with this is, you know, I don't care what the government's doing. I actually don't care anymore. Like, all the governments can do their shit, their things. Like it, that's got nothing to do with me. I'm going to do my thing within my communities and with my people and with my customers. And I'm within the rules and regulations for the most part, you know, like, but yeah, we, the people, we don't need people telling us what to do and what not to do. We are consenting smart adults, and we can make our own good choices and we can make our own bad choices. And that's our choice, right? It's not up to, I don't need anyone telling me what to do, you know? If I want to go and eat a poisonous mushroom, that's my prerogative, you know? Or not my prerogative. That, like, we've been
Yeah.
over bureaucrated, like over regulated, over bureaucrated, and you know, I also think
Yeah.
that if we had less bureaucracy, nature might take its course a little bit. Just like the bird flu, the weak will die and the strong will live.
Correct. Yes, I love that. I just hate to see it's hard to not get frustrated, when you see things like egg prices skyrocketing over something that could be mitigated in such a different way. I mean, I get so passionate because I just want everyone to thrive and everyone to be healthy. And I feel like our ancestors knew what to do. They knew what to eat, they knew how to farm, and we're just making it overly complicated and our health is suffering. So that's why I do what I do. I know for me and my body, I ate all that crap food on the market because we didn't know it was unhealthy. And then my microbiome suffered. And all of a sudden, I was allergic to everything, couldn't poop. Like it was hell. And I reclaimed my health by things like drinking raw milk and paying attention to my food sources and getting to know my farmer. And I just watched my health skyrocket. So now I'm here to help others, and you're doing your part. And I'm so happy to know you and learn from you. And when I get my farm someday, I'm coming to you for help. So I'll need you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow, this has been a great episode. I mean, boom, we've got an hour under our belt, and we could have just kept talking and talking and talking. So thanks so
For
much for
sure.
being on the show today. Really appreciate your time. Really thankful that you came and put me in the hot seat. And yeah, I probably didn't answer all the questions the way you thought I would, did I?
No, and I had no idea because I mean, I know you, but I don't know about your farming practices all the way. I'm still getting to know you, but it is a refreshing perspective. And you've really given me a lot of food for thought. So I
Um,
appreciate that.
Food for thought to help you poop.
Yay!
I love it.
Gotta keep
Okay,
those
well,
pipes moving.
exactly. As I have a bit of a tummy ache today. I don't know. Like I made chili yesterday and ate some leftovers today, and I don't know what's going on. So
Not
who knows?
sitting well. It could be stress. It could be, who knows? It's a holistic thing, health and healing. And yeah, I wish you the best. I hope you feel better.
Thank
Maybe
you.
your raw milk will help coat your tummy
Well,
and
that's what I was
protect you. And
kind of hoping for.
yeah,
The raw milk will do it. And then here's the thing. Here's one more last thought is just because I have a stomach ache and I'm not feeling good and I'm feeling kind of tired today, I still have to go outside and do my chores. I have no choice. I cannot call in sick. I have to do those freaking chores. So that's the way it is with homesteading and farming, is you can't stop, but it'll be all right. So thanks for coming on the show.
Well, hang in there. Yeah. Appreciate you so much. I love this. If you ever want to have me back, I would love to grill you again.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.